What's going on? Hola. Hola. ¿Cómo estás? Give a few minutes for everybody to come in.
We can't wait to be doctors, so we don't. Music.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life. All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life. Look, I'm married to this game, that's who I made my wife. Said I die alone, I told that bitch she probably right. One thing that's for sure, not a stranger to this life. Got a safe that's full of Franklins and a shoulder full of stripes. Don't know a nigga like myself. I say self-made, meaning I design myself. County jail fade, you can pull my foul yourself. Spy rage, swallow rocks, I'm getting high myself. Damn right, I like the life I built. West side 60, shit, I might got killed. Standing so tall, they think I might got stills. Legendary baller like Mike, like Will. 96 Impala, thug life on wheels. Up against the wall, squabble at Fox Hills. Like a motherfucking boss, ask me how I feel. Successful street nigga touching them first meals. All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life. All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life. I got everything I said I was gonna get on my kid. In addition to that fact, I went legit. I'm the shit now, according to the way that I'm positioned. In this biz, it look like I'm just gonna keep on getting rich. Know that West Side RSCs is us. LAPD on my dick, I'ma squeeze and bust. If a rap nigga did switch cheese and bust. All this rap money, nigga, look, I need too much. Money, loyalty, and love, in the dream we trust. You'll be switching up the players on your team too much. Tiny copy, that's my low, Young Supreme, what's up? And we travel around the world getting cream or what? Ain't you get off on whoever hustles seem to rush? Las Vegas strip pop, yeah, you creep the punks. After all that looking tough, all he seen was stunts. 50 Cent and Mayweather flee the scene with us. Joe Star, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life.
Hi,
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well. Just hanging out.
That's what's up. Thanks so much for inviting me. I'm sure we're gonna have a great discussion. I'm super excited. So thank you.
Yeah. No, no problem. Thank you for joining. Just excited to get a different perspective or a legal perspective, right? And to help everybody kind of get to where they need to be and understanding business from a law perspective and how to be correct in that aspect.
Most definitely, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, just to start off, if you'd like to introduce yourself, I'm Edward. I kind of do a plethora of things here, but business is kind of my sport, and this is what I play, and this is kind of where I am. So,
That's what's up, Edward. So, my name is Candace Chantel Patrick. I am a business attorney based here in Dallas, Texas. I do a lot of different things. I run my law firm, Chantel Law, but I also am a business coach, which most people know me for my Instagram, which is Sophisticated Business Owners, where I come up with really creative ways to try to teach business owners how to be sophisticated, and that ranges from me, hounding on business owners about having their attorney review a contract before they sign it, protecting their brand, properly setting up their company, all kinds of things. So that's what I do. I'm a mommy. I like to fly. I like aviation. And, it's a lot of things to know about me. But whatever questions you have, I'll be happy to answer.
oh, that's awesome. I definitely appreciate it, and you have a lot going on. So I definitely appreciate the time you're taking here to, kind of give everybody perspective.
Most definitely. So tell me, you say you do a lot with business. So what type of businesses do you handle?
Okay, cool. So, I do real estate. One, I have a wholesaling business. We do that for the most part. I have a couple partners there. I have a marketing company. We specialize in helping other companies with their online advertising and such. And I also have an electronics company where we buy and sell electronics. I have another partner there. So, kind of different industries, but all lead based related and generation around. So that's where the marketing kind of propels everything.
Awesome. So I got a question. So all these different businesses that you have, are they under one company or do you have multiple companies set up? Tell me about that.
Right. So I have a few different LLCs set up for. I have a different LLC for each business currently. What I'm working on, my next step is to start my family trust. And to where I can have everything under that and kind of take everything away and have it properly. But I'm still building to get on that level yet. I haven't got there yet, so still got some other things to take care of.
Good job. So I asked that question because a lot of business owners, one, it's a lot of business owners out there that don't even know that they need an LLC or a corporation, right? They don't even know that they need that protection for themselves. But then once they do get a company set up, a lot of times they run multiple different businesses under that one company, and that's not really a good idea, obviously, because if one company gets sued, all your assets is in one company, right? And we don't want that. We want
Right.
that spread out, right? So good job for you. I love it. I'm impressed.
Thank you. So I would say so. Starting off, we have a few questions here that I can give you that I had regarding business. And then kind of any tips or any general information you kind of want to shed the light on or important things that people should know, maybe they generally don't know.
Okay.
Cool. So what is the best legal structure for a new business?
So I always recommend the LLC, but I say do the LLC, but request to be taxed as an S corp. Okay. And I say the LLC just because it's a little easier to manage for a new business owner compared to the corporation. The corporation is typically very formal. The corporation was the first type of business entity that was created. So when you have a corporation, by law, you're required to have annual meetings. You have, the formal structure of a president, a vice president, a treasurer, a secretary. You know what I mean? So it's very, very formal. And a lot of new business owners are starting by themselves. They don't necessarily have a whole team. And they have so much to worry about. So, I don't want them to have to worry about, did I do my annual meeting? Did I record the minutes of the meeting? Did I do everything right? Because you have to keep everything in order with a corporation. And not saying that you get to be sloppy with the LLC, not saying that at all. but it's just a tighter formation for the corporation, right? And me as a business owner myself, I know the day-to-day things that business owners go through. You have to manage
Right.
everything. You got to keep your receipts up to date. You got to do all this stuff. So I just try to minimize the stress of business owners when they're first starting out. Now you can always switch over to a corporation later on if you wanted to, but in my experience, most business owners are more suitable with the LLC. So that's what we go
Okay.
with.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. And see, now that springs another question for me. So, what is the difference when it comes to the taxes, right? So you said make sure you're taxed as an S corp. What would be the difference there?
Yeah, so with the S corp now, and I have to put this disclaimer out, right? I'm not an accountant. I'm a business attorney, right? So I always tell my
Right.
clients two things you need. You need me, a business attorney, but you also need an accountant, right? Because the accountant is really the person that's going to get into the nitty gritty of how to save you money and basically look at your company to see, which way is best for you. Because some people are taxed as a C corp, some people are S corp. So get with the accountant. But for me personally, I have an LLC for one of my businesses, but I changed the tax status for S corp. So it saves me a little bit more money instead of, so for example, when I'm paying myself, right? If I just
Hmm.
have if I just have an LLC and it's just me as the owner, I don't have any other owners, right? That means I'm getting taxed on my personal taxes, and I don't want that, right? But when you have
Right.
an S corp, you're saving more money. So when I'm paying myself with the S corp, I'm getting a write off of all that stuff, and it's a little bit more deductions. Now, ask me which deductions under the IRS code, I don't know, but I know it's
Right. Right.
money.
Right.
So that's why I go ahead and I change my status to an S corp, right? I still get to keep the LLC structure, but with the IRS, I get the tax break of the S corp status. So yeah,
Okay.
good question.
Okay, yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I definitely appreciate it, and definitely a lot of insight. I know one thing, everything everyone loves to do is to save money, right? So if we can
For
find
sure.
any tax breaks anywhere, right? Definitely want to lean towards that.
For
So
sure. So
that's
that's why I
good.
always say those are two things you need. You need your business attorney, obviously, but then you also need the accountant, right? And so for me, I hate dealing with the numbers and all that stuff. So I have an accountant too. You know what I mean? I'm not exempt. Just because
Right,
I'm smart don't mean, I know how to do everything. I have an accountant too. So definitely get that on
right.
board.
Right. I think that's an important point you brought up, right? A lot of business owners try to take everything on, right? When delegating and using a team and leveraging experts in those areas could possibly be the best way to go. Maybe I'm not an expert, but I'm just saying, right?
No, that's absolutely right. In fact, sometimes, I've had clients get on the phone or potential clients get on the phone with me and we're talking about the contracts they need, right? Now, everybody knows that, contracts are pretty difficult, right? Because it's written in a completely different language. It's not just the English language, it's
Hmm.
written in the legal language, right? But I have people get on the phone with me and say, well, I know how to read, so I can review the contract myself. And I'm
Right,
like,
right.
so you think that us attorneys are going to draft the agreement for you to understand and we're going to make everything plain and clear? No, that's not how it works. And then I have some people say, well, if it's something I don't understand, I'll Google it. But you wouldn't even
Hmm.
know what it is you're looking for to Google, right? Because you don't know.
Right, right, right,
So
right,
anyways,
right.
yeah, that's the era we're in right now. Everybody is trying to do things themselves, which is why I created my digital products, so my courses and ebooks, because I recognize we got a lot of business owners that are trying to do it themselves, but Googling and YouTubing is not always the best way to go, simply because you have to do things based on your jurisdiction, right? So the rules in
Hmm.
Texas might be different than the rules in California, so you kind of run into
Right.
that problem. So it's always best to get with an attorney so they can advise you on your state. But if you're
Hmm.
gonna do it yourself, try to find an attorney that has a do-it-yourself course or something, so at least you can have some legal guidance.
Right. I'm glad we have an attorney that has a do-it-yourself course, right? We just so happen to know one, right?
Right.
Right, right, right. And very important, once again, a point you brought up, right? You say people try to Google things a lot. And I have one saying that I like to say a lot, right? It's like it's the things that we know we don't know, and then it's those things that we don't even know we don't know. So it's like you trying to look something up, but you're not even looking in the right area because you're not even remotely close to what you're supposed to be looking up. So I definitely agree with that on that end.
Exactly. So for example, I'm going to pick something different this time. Usually I talk about jurisdiction and contracts, But today I'll mention something called indemnification, right? Do you know what indemnification is? What is
I
indemnification?
I I don't even I don't know.
Most people don't know. So when you're reading the contract, most people just read over it, right? Most business owners are skipping right to the money part. This is how
Right.
much I'm supposed to get paid, or this is how much I'm supposed to pay them. All right, cool, and they sign. But indemnification is really important because it basically says that, hey, if the person you're doing business with somehow screws you over in the deal and a third party comes and attacks you and sues you, then that other person you're doing business with has to cover your legal expenses to defend the lawsuit. So this sounds crazy. Like, Candace, in what situation would this pay out? So I like to dumb it down a little bit. So let's say, you know, you decide you want to buy you a new dog, right? I love dogs. So let's say you buy you a new dog. You pay $5,000. We'll say a bully because those are popular right now. Is that no French bulldog? Let's say that. You pay
Right.
$5,000. You get the brand new puppy from Susie. Okay, but the whole time, what if Susie stole that dog from
Right.
Chris?
Right. And sold it to you.
Right, and then Chris
Right.
finds out that you got the puppy, and Chris sues
Right.
you.
Right.
That's the purpose of indemnification. Indemnification says, in the event, now if you had an indemnification clause in your contract, you know, Susie would have to pay for your legal expenses in defending the lawsuit against Chris.
Right.
You know what I mean? Most people don't even understand that, though. So they wouldn't even know. Let me go and Google this, right?
Right. Oh
So,
man. No, that's good. I definitely didn't know that. So
right?
definitely need those in my clauses. And so what would you say this clause should be written in what type of business
All contracts.
categories? Okay,
All
okay.
contracts.
Okay, so like say
Uh,
if I'm providing a service of advertising, or if I'm selling a house in the real estate instance or something of those sorts, we should always have those type of clauses.
Yep. That's one of those clauses that us attorneys, it's traditional. Every contract, I've never seen a contract without the indemnification clause. The only problem is a lot of times it'll be one-sided, right? So let's say you and I are doing business, right? And a lot of times the contract will say, you, Edward, agreed to indemnify me, Candace. But it won't say the reverse. It won't say Candace agrees to indemnify you. So you always want it to be, you want to make sure you're protected, right? That's your job. But a lot of business owners are not aware of the indemnification. So they just read it and they're not looking at the fact that they're not protected. So if I gave you a contract, I don't care about you having an indemnification clause, so long as
Right,
it says that you are going to indemnify me against third parties. So it's your
right.
job to read it and say, hey, Candace, you got a one-sided indemnification. You need to indemnify me too, Candace, right? And then I would say, yeah, you're right. Let's just throw it in there. Okay. But that's how
Oh
us attorneys
man.
are. We're kind of sneaky when it comes to that type of stuff. So you have to be savvy enough to either know the knowledge yourself or go and get an attorney to review it for you, for sure.
Okay. That's very helpful. Definitely appreciate that. I know a lot of people have to be like me and we didn't know anything about that one. Right. So okay, cool. So another question we have. How do I update my articles of confederation? What if I wanted to add someone to the team or legally and add them to the business or something of that sort?
Yeah, so it's the articles of incorporation. So what you would do is, you know, whatever state you're in, you want to go to the Secretary of State. And so usually when you go to that website, it's always like a tab or something that says amendments, right? And then you'll click on the amendment and you'll do an update. But for specifically, if you're going to add a new member, like if you're going to, you know, sell some of your ownership to someone else, the main thing that you want to focus on is your operating agreement. So
Okay.
for an LLC, it would be an operating agreement. For a corporation, it would be bylaws. And what those two documents are, those are contracts that govern your business. So run the day-to-day business, okay? And so that is really important. So if you're going to get a new owner on, we need to add them into the agreement, right? Because remember,
Right.
we do business in contract, even our own business. So right
Right.
now with my law firm, Chantel Law, I have a contract with me and my law firm, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have an operating agreement, and it's going to list out everything, right? If something was to happen to me, if I passed, it's going to list out how my company gets dissolved, everything, the day-to-day operations. It also lists out how do I go about adding a new member. Do they have to
Right.
pay some type of membership fee to become a member? You know,
Right.
Is it some type of meeting that I have to have with the current owners? Do we have to vote on it, or does someone have
Right.
superior voting rights? Like all of that has to be spelled out in your contracts with your company. But those are the two things. So you go to the Secretary of State click on the amendment. Each state is different, right? But they always have an amendment section you can amend, and then you also update your contract, whether it's the bylaws or the operating agreement.
Okay. Okay, cool. That's good. Good. I'm glad you got the name right for me. I mixed that up a little. Corporation, not
No
confederation.
worries.
Cool,
No
cool,
worries.
cool. Okay, another question. Can I have a name filed as a business and do business as another name, or do I have to change the name of my business?
No, you don't have to change it. So that's in that case, you would use a DBA, right?
Okay,
So you would just the DBA, the sole purpose for the DBA is really just to notify the state that you are the person operating behind a specific business name. And the reason why people do that, or it's recommended that you do that, is if your business is not registered. Because think about it, if you register your LLC or your corporation, the state already knows who's behind the company name. But when you're
right,
doing business under a name that's not registered, then no one knows, right? So you might have an
right,
ice cream shop in the summertime, right? Candace's Cones, whatever. Well, if I don't have my company registered, if I don't have an LLC or corporation or whatever, no one knows who's behind the company. So let's say someone ate my ice cream and they got really sick. They wouldn't know who to sue unless they physically saw me and came up to me and said, "Hey, what's your name?" And whatever. So when you do a
right,
DBA, that's just updating your information with the state to say, "Hey, I'm the person behind Candace's Cones," right? So that's
right.
what you would do. File a DBA and just say, "Hey, we created a different name, whatever." Or you could have filed an amendment and do a name change. Either one of those.
Okay, so it has to be filed.
Yeah. So you would do a DBA, or you can alternatively just do a name change.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Um, let's see here. What are the differences and benefits, the different types of family trust, and what are the benefits of having a trust?
Okay, so I'm not too versed on the different types, but I will say that the benefits of having a family trust is it kind of insulates your assets, right? So with the LLC and corporation, you can still get, sued by creditors and things like that. The trust gives you a little bit more protection, especially when it comes to your assets, such as like your house and things like that. It even gives you more protection when dealing with the IRS, right? I've even seen situations where the IRS can't touch certain things simply because your trust agreement that you have written out says your company has to operate a certain way. So it just
True.
ultimately gives you much more protection. So once you have the LLC or corporation set up, then your next goal would be to go ahead and get the trust set up to protect all of that, right? And then
Right.
another thing too is most people are familiar with the show, what is it, Power? You seen
Yes.
Power? Yeah, most people
Yes.
seen Power, right? So when Ghost died, he had a trust set up, okay?
Right.
And with the trust, you can dictate things. You can dictate, well, this person only gets money if they go and get a college degree. That's what Ghost did with his son Tyreek. So that's
Right.
another benefit of the trust. And then another thing with the trust is you avoid having to go to what's called probate court. So typically
Okay.
when you have a will set up, you have to your loved one, whoever is the beneficiary, they have to go to probate court to basically prove up the will, to say, here's the will, I'm the beneficiary, give me what I'm owed. A lot of times
Right.
when families are grieving, they don't necessarily want to go through that process.
Mm-hmm.
So but if you have a trust, you avoid that, right? So
Right. So proper planning.
exactly.
Right. Proper planning and protection. The two
Exactly. That was a
keys.
great question. So trust are the next big thing that I will be educating my audience on social media, because right now, so I try to take baby steps with my audience. So right now, people are caught up on LLCs and corporations, most people. So now we want to go to the next step and say, what can we do? How can we better this situation? So trust will be the next step.
Definitely. And that's definitely a good next step. And I can't wait to be a part of it and see what you got going on there.
For
Um,
sure.
cool. We have a question from the crowd. Other than the LLC and getting an EIN, what else do you think a person needs to start a trucking business?
So that's a great question. So a lot of my clients are into the logistics business, right? Logistics is just another way of saying trucking. And that business is very lucrative, especially here in Texas. So good job for, even getting into that industry. So once you get the LLC set up, you get the EIN, I think it's important for you to start working on your business credit. So if you don't have an account with Dun & Bradstreet, go and set up a free account with Dun & Bradstreet so you can start building that business credit. A lot of truckers need money up front, right? Because you want to buy more and more trucks to add to your fleet, right? So you want to build that business credit so you're able to get lines of credit or American Express, or you got fuel cards, gas cards for your drivers, right? Because you're going to be spending this money anyway, so you might as well build your credit. The other thing is, I don't know how soon you join Nails, but you want to make sure that you have an operating agreement, okay? So again, anytime you do business, regardless is if you're doing it with yourself or with a third party, you always want to do business in contract. So if you have the LLC, if you have the EIN, it sounds like you're missing the operating agreement, okay? So you want to have an operating agreement drafted very well according to how you want your business to be ran, okay? If it's more than one member to the LLC, so again, member is the owner. That's just the term we use for owner. If it's more than one member, then you need to specify in the operating agreement, hey, what percentage ownership do they have, right? What are we going to do when it comes to issues? Do we vote on it? Does one person act as the managing member that handles the day-to-day operations? Or does every single decision have to be ran through all the other members? So anyways, I won't beat a dead horse, but yeah, set up your Dun & Bradstreet so you can start generating business credit, and then also get you an operating agreement drafted up. Yeah, good question.
That's definitely helpful. Definitely helpful. I think I may need to go revisit a couple of my operation agreements, make sure they're in line. Right? You
Yeah.
got me thinking over here. Cool.
And then another thing too with the operating agreement, so keep this in mind. You have something called piercing the corporate veil, right? So this is a term of art, piercing the corporate veil. This is a way that us attorneys are able to bypass your LLC or corporation and then get to your personal assets individually, right? This is what I'm referring to, a lawsuit. So let's say you have a trucking business and your driver was drinking and driving and he ran into someone's car. Of course, they see your big logo on the side of the truck, so they sue your business. Now me, if I'm the attorney representing the person that got hurt, when I file my lawsuit, we do what's called discovery, where we get to request whatever information we want to help build our case. So when I file discovery against you, I would say, hey, I need a copy of your operating agreement, right? So I want to check out the operating agreement. I want to make sure that the operating agreement, one, that you have one, and then two, I want to make sure that the agreement states that you're indemnified, right? Because we do business in contract, okay? And so, the laws are different in different states, but that's one way in which I could possibly pierce the corporate veil and get to your personal assets, right? So without piercing the corporate veil, typically you are limited to the assets of the company. You can never get to the individual owner. But in some circumstances, I can get to the assets of the individual owner, okay? So just keep that in mind with regards to the operating agreement. That's another reason why it's important.
So it's very important. So there's some loopholes that the lawyers can get through if the operating agreement, or if they're not identified properly, right? So
right. So we
definitely want to talk.
Yeah. So we're looking to see it in the operating agreement. Are they actually indemnified? I'm trying to find any way. So the reason why I would do that is if for whatever reason, I knew this was a person who had a lot of assets. Let's say a celebrity, right? We know celebrities have money. So let's say their company, because remember, you have multiple companies, right? And sometimes business owners have shell companies, right? Whereas no assets in the company is really just a company that owns another company. So if that shell company gets sued, there's no money there. So as a lawyer, I'm trying to figure out, well, how can I bypass the company and get to the individual owner? Because I know this owner has some money. Right? So I'm going to be trying to find all type of loopholes. I'm going to be trying to look and see if you're mixing your personal assets with your business assets. That's another way I can get through and pierce the corporate veil. So that's another thing, business owners, you have to make sure that you have a business bank account, so you're keeping your business assets separate from your personal. Because if I start seeing you co-mingling those funds, that's another way for me to say, hey, look, we can pierce the corporate veil, judge. Now, obviously, the judge has to agree with me, but that's just another way in which I can bypass the corporate structure. So it
Oh
might be a
man,
lot. It might be a lot for you guys, but I'm trying to drop few things at a time.
this is great. Nah, keep it coming. I'll save it so they can go back and watch. Put whatever you want there, but this is great. A lot of stuff I didn't know myself. I'm definitely going to go see my lawyer Monday morning, maybe even Friday morning.
Good job.
So, yeah, this is great. So, man, so any other tips or business tricks or loopholes that you would say that the audience should be aware of and understand?
So one thing we didn't talk about was branding, and that's something I would say they for sure should focus on. Okay. Unfortunately, I get a lot of business owners who come to me after they've set up the company, after they've already started building up their reputation and their brand, and they come to me after the fact trying to get a trademark, right? And unfortunately, you know, a lot of times I have to come back and say, hey, look, somebody already trademarked this name, you know? And that sucks for them because then they have to go and change their name. So that is my last piece that I would say, don't procrastinate on the trademark. You know, if you're a new business owner just starting out, the trademark is just as important as the LLC, if not more important, because the trademark is going to give you ownership over your business name. Okay.
Right,
The LLC
right.
does not give you ownership over the name. Okay. So to avoid being hurt in the long run and run the risk of having to rebrand, when you set up that LLC, also get with the trademark attorney like myself, and then get your trademark application in so you can own the business name. Okay. So that is
Okay.
my other piece of advice, especially now, ever since COVID, we've had a surge of people becoming business owners. I don't know if it was the PPP loans or what, but you know, everybody and their mama trying to be business owners at this point. So what I've been seeing as an attorney is overlapping business names. It's like, you know, people's creativity is running thin, and everybody kind of got. In fact, I had one girl inbox me about a name, and she got smart with me and kind of kicked herself in the foot. But she sent me a name, and it was funny because I knew another client that I had already told that name was taken. So now
Oh
that's a total
man,
of 3 different people in the same industry with the same business name. You know, my
in the same
client.
area at that.
Exactly. So my client who I had to give the bad news to, the person in my inbox, and then the person who actually, you know, got approved for the trademark. So I was just,
Right.
it's overlapping names, right? And we don't want that. So you want to be able to, from the jump start, own your name. And if you're a business owner who's already in business and you unfortunately did not trademark your business in the get-go, you can still go ahead and try to trademark it, but I would say don't procrastinate on it. Get it done quickly.
So other than the trademark, the copyright is also there. So what would you say is more important, or what would you say should do first, or how to go about that?
So I would say do it simultaneously. So most of my clients, they do the company setup as well as the trademark at the same time. Okay. And that's just because, you know, I would prefer you to own your name first before you jump out there and start making a name for your business, and then later on find out someone else owned it. So we do both of them at the same time.
Okay. Okay, cool. And what are the differences there between the copyright and the trademark?
Yeah, good question. So let me see. I have my famous example I always use. So let me see if I can come up with another one. But I'll say this. So remember the term intellectual property, right? Intellectual property, intellectual property, intellectual property. So that's property that comes from your mind, right? Just like it sounds, your intellectual property. That word is an umbrella term, okay? So you have intellectual property. Underneath that umbrella, you have 3 different categories, okay? You have trademarks, copyrights, and patents, okay? Now, the trademarks, we already know that protects your brand. So
Mm-hmm.
anything that, you know, the public uses to identify your brand. So for example, I love Nike. Nike has a check mark. Whenever we see that little check mark, we think Nike, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but Nike also has a slogan, just do it. So whenever we hear just do it, we think about Nike. Okay, and then Nike also has their business name, Nike. Okay, whenever we see
Right.
Nike, we think about Nike, the gym shoes, right? So anything associated with your brand that the public uses to identify your particular brand, that is something that you want to trademark. All right. Now, if you are doing something that is considered a work of authorship, so if you are creating music, right? Any songs you create, if you're an author, you write books, if you create courses, whatever, anything that's like creative type of works. If you're a dancer, you create some type of choreography, right? Those things, that is what you can copyright. Okay. So another thing, if you're a script writer, you write scripts for movies or TV shows, that is what you want to use to protect your work. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, the patent is basically for inventions. So if you create something that has never been created before and you want to own it and protect it and get the rightful credit, then you would do a patent on it. So my example to tie all this together, I'm going to use my same example because I love this and I'm waiting on somebody to create it. So I told you in the beginning, I like aviation. I love going to the private airports, getting in the Cessna planes and flying. But right now I'm waiting on someone to transform a regular vehicle into a plane, so to speak. I want to be able to drive my car on the ground, but then I want to be able to push a button kind of like Batman or something. And I want to be able to fly up in the sky, right? I haven't seen that yet in the general public.
Okay, Miss Jackson.
Right. That's what I want to be able to do. So let's say tomorrow somebody creates that. The invention itself, whatever engineering and mechanics that they use to make the vehicle, transform into and be able to levitate and fly, those particular engineering and mechanics would be patented, right? That's how they will own it, right? They will get a patent in it. Now, let's say they heard me on your live and they wanted to honor me and they named this particular car Candace's car, right? So the public would know it as Candace's car. That is how they would identify this particular brand. So they would trademark Candace's car, right?
Right.
Now, let's say they created some nice little marketing for Instagram, right? Some people in there driving a car. It's all fancy. It's well put together. It's a well put together commercial. The commercial in and of itself will be copyrighted, okay? Because it's a creative work. It's a work of authorship, okay? So I hope that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. That was a great example. You should keep using it. Definitely a great example. So
Cool beans.
I have another question. This leads me to another question. So say for instance, what if I wanted to license something and giving someone the right to use it for a particular use case? What would be their limitations on using whatever like a beat, for instance. If I created a beat but I wanted to lease it to someone, what are the terms to that?
Yeah, so guys, whoever's watching this, make sure you follow this gentleman because he is super smart, okay? He knows way more than the average business owner, right? He's already knowing what licensing is, right? So, okay, the license is, once you own it, okay, whether it's your brand that you own with the trademark, whether it's some type of creative work that you own with the copyright, whether it's a patent, regardless, once you actually own it, then you can license it out. As far as the terms of the agreement, it's whatever you and that person decide. So you can license it out for, a set duration, right? You can say, hey, you're allowed to use this song I wrote. You're allowed to use it for a year in your commercials, whatever, right? Whatever you decide. So I know recently, what was it? It was the versus battle. I want to say Keisha Coles and I forget who the other person was. But anyways, somebody had marketing. They were doing marketing for P. Diddy's drink, Ciroc. So they had the Ciroc up there, and it was some type of, issue about who was getting paid for marketing that. Well, you can bet your bottom dollar that Diddy had a licensing agreement with whoever the TV platform people were, whoever the TV provider were, was, right? So he had a licensing agreement with them. Like, yeah, you can have my Ciroc on your show, right? But it's only for the duration of this versus. When the versus is over, you can't just be, putting my Ciroc on your show. Same thing with movies. If you notice, whenever you see a movie, if you see a water bottle, it usually has no label on it, right?
Right.
Same thing with the computers and stuff. They won't have an Apple on their computer or phone because they don't want to run into a violation of that company's brand, right? In order for them to be able to use a water bottle with, say, you know, Ozark on it or whatever, they have to get a licensing agreement from Ozark saying they can use that water bottle in that movie or in that commercial or whatever. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, as far as the terms though, it's whatever you guys negotiate. As far as the payment, how much you get paid, it's whatever you negotiate. Okay. Whatever you
Awesome.
negotiate. But the biggest key is you can't license something out unless you own it.
Right.
So you want to make sure, hey, I own this brand. So for example, one of my clients that I love to work with, JC Scott, he's a custom clothier here in Dallas. We just trademarked his brand, but he's really big into doing promotions for other people, you know? And so, like I explained to him, pretty soon, you never know, Macy's, Nordstrom, you know, Saks Fifth, any of these big companies that sell suits, because of his popularity, they might want to use the name JC Scott on their Instagram or on their commercials just to get more of his audience. Well, now that he owns that name, they have to pay him, right? They have to sign a licensing agreement to use his name. He gets paid. So essentially, anytime you own your brand or your intellectual property, it becomes an asset. So, good job asking the question about the licensing. You're definitely putting your audience on game.
No, I definitely appreciate you answering the question and taking us on the journey, right? It's a lot of gems in there that I definitely didn't know myself, and that was very much clarified. So definitely appreciate it.
For sure. Any other questions?
I think that's all of my questions. And then there was only one question there from the audience there.
Cool.
So we may be good on questions.
All right, cool beans. Well, sure. I know you probably want me to say how people can find me. Of course, you can always follow me on Instagram, Sophisticated Business Owners. And you know, I like to put out a bunch of funny stuff to try to catch you guys' attention so you listen. So like the other day, I posted a picture with all of this money. I was doing a challenge where you put all your money out and spell something out. Man, I got so many people inboxing me and calling me. I'm like, dang, all I have to do is put some money down for y'all to pay attention to me, that y'all need to trademark, right?
Right. Yeah, you know what? You know the internet nowadays. You show a little bit of blue hundreds and people in the frenzy, right? So,
Exactly.
hey, it's good marketing, right?
Exactly. So I try to do a lot of funny stuff just to teach you all, you know, how to be better with business. So you can follow me on Instagram. And then you have the best of both worlds. If you want me to provide a service for you, a trademark, a draft a contract, set up your company, I'd be happy to do that. But I also have digital products where I'm teaching you how to do these things yourself, okay? So I have a trademark course where I'm teaching you how to file your own trademark. Same thing with my contract review masterclass. And all of that is in the link in my bio. So
yes, please follow Miss Candace. We definitely appreciate your time here and the information, and definitely look forward to everything you have coming in the future.
For sure. Thanks so much for having me, and stay in contact and keep going because I'm impressed, right? It's rare that I meet a business owner that is as well studied as you. So
I appreciate it. Business is my sport, right? And I try not to be half stepping, right? I'm very competitive, you know. So definitely appreciate you getting here. Definitely will stay in touch and look forward to it. Thank
Awesome. Have a good night.
you. You also. Bye bye.